welcome back to the Legend Status Podcast. Today is a very exciting day for myself. My childhood self is just going crazy right now thinking about this. I am with a very special guest today. The special guest is, um, in my opinion, an icon in the b-boying world, an artist, clearly a philanthropist, uh, somebody who has just uh, to me, completely changed the game when it came to breaking and innovation, and truly a battle master in my world. Someone who was a part of one of the most iconic dance groups in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s as well, is the legendary Rock Force crew. I am here today with Mr. Leon Carswell, B-Boy Vietnam.
What's good, y'all?
Welcome, sir.
What's
Welcome,
good?
sir.
Yo, shout out to Andrew for contacting me. Much respect. Yo, shout out to Calgary and to Riverside FM. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you, brother. So let's just get started and dive in. For those who don't know, tell us about the background. Tell us about the journey of where you landed, where you are, and then we'll get to where you are today.
Um, well,
Where
I've
did
been
it all start?
dancing since three. I've been dancing since 3 years old. When I was in the Philippines, I came from England, and then we went to Italy, and then the Philippines. And when I was three, this is probably back in 1982. I used to dance to that song, "Upside Down." Boy, you turn me inside out and
Uh,
round and round.
nice.
My cousin Bong from the Philippines, big as fuck. He's probably like 10 years older than me, and he reminded me of that. He remembers when I used to do that, and I remember doing that too. Like I remember we would always get around when the family was around, and they'd be like dance, dance, and we just be like dancing.
Yeah,
So I used to dance already back then. I pretty much always been a dancer and stuff.
oh, that's dope. And so you were born in England. I think you said your mother's side comes from the Philippines. I
Mhm.
find like Filipino people are dancing and singing out the womb. Was that sort of the same thing then?
It's like Filipinos were engineered to dance and sing and
Yeah,
act. Like it's crazy.
just perform.
Just perform. Like I could sing and I didn't even never practiced. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? Like, where do you learn this shit from? It's just like inside. So
yeah,
we're lucky, but the Philippines is a very poor country, we were very oppressed. So we had to fight back, We had to fight back. And I think God gave us a lot of talents and stuff because we didn't have anything, but we do know how to have fun. We do know how to have
oh, yeah.
fun. And joy is the most important thing that you can do in this world. So, thank God to that, Almighty Jesus, gracias, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
And what about England? Like, how long were you in England? You were born there.
you,
How did that influence?
I was in England probably like maybe a year and a half. Like I was
Oh, okay.
born, and dude, my dad actually missed my birth. You know what I'm saying? Like he was driving in the car and he got into a wreck with my older brother. And then my older brother told my mom, Daddy, he crashed the car, and she was like, what? But he told me not to tell you. And because he was on the way, he was speeding. So, but my
Right,
dad
right.
he's in the Air Force, so he's probably busy. And then my mom had me, and then I was there in England, and I don't even remember it, but I heard the tapes, and I used to have an English accent. I used to be like, "Mummy," I call my mom "Mummy" until age,
Right.
So and then I was
Yeah.
like, "We got to change this," you know what I mean? Like we're in America now. But yeah, I used to call my mom "Mummy." Yeah.
So, like, how did your parents sort of influence dance? Was there any influence there other than, of course, the Filipino DNA and genes? Like, did your parents support it? Were they against it? Did they like how did they play? Because I find parental, influence can sometimes really support that or kind of be against it, right?
Well, it was like both. It was like they just did it with guidelines. Like my father passed at 8, so he didn't really when I was 8,
Okay.
so he didn't really have much of an influence on it, except like when I told you the Philippine stories.
Yeah.
And he was real serious. My dad was a real serious dude. But my mom always is encouraging everything. Just always like she's hype.
Hyping you up. Yeah,
So
that's
she's
dope.
always hype, and she always is doing the karaoke and singing and stuff. So that performance aspect has always been there and stuff. But when they're doing the karaoke, I always just be like. Nah, I rap, I don't do that, So
Yeah, yeah.
was like kind of like the new version of what they were doing, and then these are my friends now, and my mom kind of used to discourage me being in hip hop because I used to get arrested a lot when I was young for graffiti. I got arrested
Oh,
14 times for graffiti, 3 times in the first week.
wow.
So she was just like, "Why are you always at the police station? Why are you always, you get into too much trouble for this hip hop?" And it was just like, "Nah, mom, but that's what we do. That's our culture." And she's like, "No, your
Right.
culture is Filipino. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying?" So, and I'm like, "Nah, mom, this is how we get down." So I always did graph. I did graph since like '92, and then dance. I've been doing it since the '80s. I actually didn't dance a lot in 1988 when gangster rap came in because everyone kind of like stopped. But we used to
Right.
battle like in '86 at recess. We used to battle, do windmills. I used to kick one windmill from my back, kind of like the Jackie Chan one, and just keep doing it over and over. Like we didn't have much
Yeah.
room. And then and gangster rap came in '88, and it was like nobody was dancing anymore. Everyone was a gangster. So I wasn't,
That's for sure.
but I was just more like chilling. And then the preppy era came in, like no, no, MC Hammer came in. I was dancing again. MC Hammer was dancing, and then the
Right.
prepper era came, and then so we were dancing, and then we had like the baggy, no, the baggy dress pants with the flared out thing right here,
Mhm.
bro. Like we was dancing, like we was like for like 6 hours, bro. Contest, bro, like crazy.
I
But
love it.
I there was always like doper heads in me, like even in my city, like, so I kind of just look up to them. And they were always super dope, like, and the fashion was just so dope, like, and the wingtip shoes, you remember wingtips?
Yeah, 100%. Some people
Yeah,
still rock those today, man. I think some people do.
yeah, heck yeah.
Who
So,
who were who were some of those people that you not only looked up to in breaking, but like just overall as people? Like who were some of those people that you really inspired to be like or dance
well,
like you?
for one, like my boy Anthony Leggett, rest in peace. He was an athlete, right? And he was amazing at everything. He could backflip. He was the fastest in track and field. He had all the hoes. You know what I'm saying? He could drive fast, and
Right.
he was older than us. So he was the legend in our neighborhood. He was a legend before anyone was a legend. So we looked up to him in his coolness, and he was
Right.
sick. And then my pretty much my brother, like my neighbor from right across the street, we grew up together. He made it to the NFL. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
no.
Off of just Anthony used to play with us and just it being inspired by Anthony and stuff. So Anthony really made us all legends. Like Anthony Leggett being who he was so sick that we just kind of we were the young ones, and when you got young ones, they look up to you. So that was a big thing is Anthony Leggett. Bernard Berrien is the one who went to NFL. He's dope. He used to dance with me and when we were young, and we even have old school crisscross videos. We thought we were crisscross and shit. We thought we were. I was Daddy Mac and he was Mac Daddy. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
Like like my brother had some of them videos. But Bernard, he tap danced all over the NFL. He was in and because of that dance, we were amazing
Right.
football players too. Like we used to play in the street and we used to catch crazy stuff like Hail Marys and just
Yeah.
anything. We'd be doing stomach slides under the car and shit just to get away from people. Shit was crazy, bro. It was really like crazy in the '80s. Like play and skin yourself up and play up to sundown.
Right.
There's no there's no babysitting. That you just go play in the street and you play football.
Right.
So so
And that would have been when you came to Cali, and
yes.
that's where you sort of currently are now.
Yeah.
What was it like when you came there and grew up there? Like what give me an idea of the setting. Like what was I mean, clearly there was a lot of sports and probably some competition and obviously the same trends in the world, but like what was that like? Like how do you bring us back there? You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll bring you back to Winton, California, where we first settled, right? My dad worked at Castle Air Force Base 10 miles away from, or like 5 miles away from Winton. So he bought the house in Winton, right? And Winton is like New York as far as like just like grimy, but it's like it's like a small town where Hell's Angels used to be there. You heard of the Hell's Angels? And they
Yeah, we
used
have them out here too.
to, yeah, you got them out there, right? So it was crazy. It was like it was a mix. It was like There was no black people. It was hella racist,
Right.
but then, it was like cultured and everyone spoke Spanish because it's called Winton,
Right.
So
Right.
it was Winton, and it was graffiti everywhere, uh, violence everywhere. And but I just grew up in it. I had to be fast. Literally, I had to be a fast runner because if you get chased, if you're walking to the store and you were like a kid, they might chase you and try to snatch you up and put you in their car and kidnap you. So we
Wow.
had to be fast. And I'm really a fast runner. You know what I'm saying? I'm really alert and aware. But that's like how women was. Um, so we had to learn to fight. We had to learn to watch. I have a second sense of danger, where I can just peep shit out and be like,
I'm gonna walk this way.
yeah, like I'm gonna go this way. Like it's just, I can feel it. So, I don't worry when I go to other countries. Like I'd be in Mexico, I'd be in Costa Rica, I'd be in like crazy places where people's like, yo,
Right.
there's criminals there, but I'm like, bruh, like you're a criminal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're exploiting. You know what I mean? Those people over
Hmm.
there are the people. It just depends how you act. If
That's
you
right.
are acting, you know, uh, like you got to stick up your ass, then they're gonna rob you. You know what I'm saying?
No, of course
But
not.
luckily, I never came from people like that. Like I always came from like poor people that respected you because you were the same as them.
Right.
So it kind of like it wasn't until later when I started getting money in LA that I in like at like 23, I didn't get money really till 23 that I was like, oh shit, there's a difference of class and people, and it's not for the
Nice.
better or the worse. It's more like you're hidden in between and you gotta pick and see. You can feel their heart though, and then you're
Yeah.
like got discernment, and I was like, damn, a lot of these rich people be acting kind of crazy, bro. Like they're the ones tripping. They're the criminals. You know what I'm saying? They do the white
Yeah.
crime. They do the stealing on the side, and they call the cops. But where
Right.
I'm from, you didn't call the cops. You know what I'm saying? You just fought it out, and then
Just
you
deal
just
with it how you deal with it.
the cops are the problem. They're the ones who come in and they throw your family in jail, and they do the crazy shit. So you just chill. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like, when you get a chance to sort of see the different walks of life, you come to the realization where like this person is no better than that person. You're just better at hiding it, or you have people to help you hide that, or there's just things that you kind of see through, right? So,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
kind of sad to say that because some of the most powerful people in the world are,
Yeah.
doing things that really, you can't do nothing about.
You know
But
what it is with
uh,
that, Andrew? Is this? People are at different levels in life, right? Everybody's not at the
right,
same level. So like spiritually,
yeah,
So that's what you get the mix of. You got a lot of people down here. They're like the lower level of thinking, like kind of like NPCs. The
yeah,
NPC.
yeah,
So they just walking around. They bump into you. They talk shit. They're stupid, right?
yeah,
But that's not bad. It's just the way God made things to mix it
right,
up. You know what I'm saying? Because every life, and I was talking with Riston about this, Remind from Style Elements.
oh,
Every person that God made is needed. It's like a band of the ensemble, right? So God created all these different musical notes. So to take one life away is very, very bad, because
oh,
God made it like that. You know what I'm saying? He made the good and the bad, right? So sometimes you got to appreciate the bad just to know when I'm around the good, I'm going to enjoy that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you see
right.
the bad and you're like, nah, that's not it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
and that's how you really like appreciate things and stuff because every person is important. Some people might think I'm bad, because I didn't do
Yeah,
something for them or I didn't fall into their little ways of
right.
limited thinking. But you got to think you can't be selfish in this world. It's a big ass world with 14 billion people, right? And you're only one person. So you got to give as much as you can and give out before you pass away because that's what we're here for, is not to be rich or to be dope or to be
Mm-hmm.
look at me. Who the fuck are
Right,
you? Look at
right,
God. Is the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like God, I look at God, you know what I'm saying? Like God is dope.
right,
And I think that's the secret to my thing too. Is like I always been into God, Ever since I didn't even know how to pray, I always prayed to God, So that's what got me all my wins, That's what got me all my contracts. That's what got me
right.
all my things that people like me for, and
Yeah.
I just always prayed to God. I never went strayed from God. I always just did that. So
Yeah.
that's my secret, really. But that's the trick.
Yeah, it has, and so you've always had a relationship with God, like you've always had faith, and did that come from your mother? Is that just
You
innate? Like,
It comes from my mother, to be honest, because my mom, she had us raised in the Catholic Church. Since we were like young, since I remember going to church. We used to go to St. Anthony's over here in Atwater, California. So we always, even though I didn't know what they were doing and all the rituals and stuff, I would just be up there. She didn't even used to let me eat the Eucharist, the bread when they give you. She'd be like,
yeah,
nah, you're gonna embarrass me. Like, dang. So I didn't even get the Eucharist until I was like 18, even though I've been baptized since I was a birth, because as
right.
Catholics, we're baptized right away. They cut off our
Oh,
navel, and we're baptized. So,
yeah,
but yeah, she was embarrassed. She was like, "Nah, this guy." And rightfully so because I kind of had ADD when I was young. I was always like, I don't like to stand.
okay,
Like standing and shit for me is terrible. Like it's weird because I'm a dancer, right? But like I don't even like to stand. Like I like to sit down and shit. That's really
okay,
weird. So when we have to keep standing up, because in Catholic Church you have to stand up like probably 20 or 30 times in a 1 hour session. So you're standing and then you're kneeling and then you're standing again and then you're sitting and then
yeah,
you're kneeling. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a
yeah,
workout. But
right,
it's for that endurance because there's a Catholicism is one of the first ways of the truth of Christianity. If you're a Christian, some people just be like a Christian, dope. That's dope too. I respect it. But Catholicism was one of the first preserved and the most true way that they did it at the beginning. It morphed into different styles of Christianity,
right,
and that's dope. Respect to all.
right,
Respect to all people that are trying to be into Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? That's dope. But with Catholicism, we kneel for like hours. We say our ritualistic prayers for 3 to 4 hours at a time, just focused. So that's why we're
right,
so powerful. To be honest. And people might be like, yo, but if you try it and try to do the rosary 50 times and see what happens to your life. I'm sure it will be better because a lot of people they're misled. Satan will always try to tell you this is what Satan does. Satan makes a copy of the truth and makes it fit for you and then tricks your mind. So then you're on this
right,
weird path, and you're all
okay,
fucked up and you're thinking, ah, shit, I'm gonna manifest this money and you ain't gonna do shit. You know what I'm saying? Jesus is gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So everybody be thinking that they're all like,
That they're
so
in control,
you can't do shit.
free
Not in
will centered.
control. Yes, God got everything. So and He sent Jesus down to show us, to show us the way, and people still don't listen. And
Right.
good, good for you. Live your life, but I just keep winning, bro, with Jesus. You feel me? Like that's the thing. People can't do nothing, bro. I don't care if you do witchcraft, bro. It just bounces off you, and you start looking old. That's the real shit, bro. Like I see
Right.
people, bro. This girl tried to hex me like 2 years ago, right? And then I seen her like a month after she tried to hex me, and she's looking skinny, cancerous. And I was like, damn, what happened to her? But that's the thing is that when you do spells and shit, it comes back to you tenfold. So you better do good spells for money
Right.
so that you can
Right.
give it to your friends because there's a problem with that, you know what I'm saying? And people don't really know what they're messing with, you know what I'm saying? I know bitches, I know powerful people, you know what I'm saying, from all walks of life, from Gnostics to Mormons to witches to to natives, and it's a lot of power out there, but it's how you use it. You know what I'm saying? And
Did
God
you?
will give you more when you can handle it, but if you're trying to play around and be vindictive or try to, you're not gonna get nothing, bro. You're just gonna be looking old, bro. That's why I still look good at 46. You know what I'm saying? Crazy, bro. Jesus Christ. Yes, sir.
Did you? Especially coming from probably a now diverse, community and whatnot. Like, do you feel that there's a lot of similarities between the religions out there? Like, obviously there's good and bad, and I think the bad even knows that they're bad. They try to hide it. They, do things. But like, do you feel because so I'll give you an example. My family growing up has been Buddhist, and but my parents, when they arrived here, were sponsored by different people. So we've been to church, we've done that, and what I found is good people are good people, of course, but what I found is when I now study, especially as an older person, I'm 40, and now that I look into religion, I find, geez, like there are so many similarities between precepts and commandments. Like, do you find the same thing? And when
Yes.
you're around a group of diverse people and they're like, hey, I'm a Muslim, or I'm a, and you go, well,
Yes.
yeah, well, we do this too, and we do that too. And I find there's such a divide between like media or whatever it is that creates, you
Yeah.
know, uh, whatever facade that goes, you're not the same, or you should be against that person, or they're like, do you find that there's so many similarities between
Yes,
them?
there's a lot of similarities, and it's because there's a lot of good truth to a lot of it, you know. But you're gonna have to try out for yourself through a revelation what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Because I follow Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? But I studied Buddha too, and it felt good. You know, it felt amazing. When I was in Japan, it was Buddha. You know,
Right, right,
and I chill out, and I like silence too, you know. And so I think it's kind of like, I don't think God judges that. I think He judges your heart, you know.
intent.
And so it's not about what you choose, you know. It's just more like what it is for you, and you'll know because you'll see the effects. You know what I'm saying? You'll see
Right,
how it works. If you're getting these bad effects and you're getting all this negativity and these type of things, then I think you should just change that up. You know, because
right,
what I learned is a lot of things can be copycat, and they mask and they act just like this, you know, but they don't get you the
right,
results, and you're like, damn, why am I in so much turmoil, or why am I always like fighting with this person, or and it's because of you. You know, you're not choosing the right thing. You know, that's what it
right,
is. You don't have to choose anything, you know, but
right,
the power is out there for you to pick it up if you want to, you know. And that's a revelation that you have to find on your own, because it's not even about being religious. I think it's more about being spiritual, and knowing that, there's a spirit. Someone created this, right? Something created this, whatever created this, and to get in touch with good. It's on our hearts, you know, the goodness. We're born with it.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? And we try to go against it because someone said this works or this, but you didn't read the whole story. You have to read the
right,
whole story to be like, oh, okay, because they're only gonna give you like little bites and stuff, like especially in the
right.
media. So people
Yep.
go this way and that, and they know what they're doing. Like the creators of this stuff, they're trying to like pull you this way or that, but
And
you gotta,
polarize and divide.
yes,
Mm.
it's got to resonate in your heart, to be like, you got to put things together like an equation. You got to be like, this side, we got 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times 2 equals 2. It's got to be a balance. So
Right.
when you feel the balance is off, and you put 1 times 2 and it equals 3, that's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta flip that equation. So it's
Right.
all together, math, science, all of it is together. Politics, no, though. Politics is more something to divide us.
Right.
Politics and dividing the masses. I've been to Jerusalem where they got the Muslims, then they got the Christians, then you got the Jews, right? And
Right.
they all pray at this like one side over here, and then one side over here, and one side over here. And but they try to make it like together. So it's like you can do what you do, but just, don't fight, guys. Here's your space. You know what I mean? And see, I was lucky to have traveled the world, you know what I'm saying, to see all this stuff, because it's not just in books, it's more like seeing it. So you get an understanding of, oh, it's really like this. That's why they don't, at least Americans, they don't want you to travel, because they're trying to keep you like right here and hating this place.
Really.
Yes, like narrow mind. I don't even really watch TV like that. You know what I'm saying? I watch what
Right.
I want. I read a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I listen to people. So that's been most important. Like even the stuff on Spotify is kind of whack. Like they got all these podcasts now about like religion and stuff, but and it's like they're trying to like trick you. So you have to read for you the right things, and that takes discernment and studying.
Right.
So
I love that. Yeah. How do you like? I think about how people talk a lot about soul and spirituality. Like, is that where dance and hip hop sort of came into play? I'm sure part of it came from environment and sort of oppression, but like, how did you feed your soul? Is I guess a good way, especially as you're growing up.
with hip hop, and with hip hop because it was like it was our how we express ourselves. I knew that me and my group wasn't normal. I knew we were advanced. You know what I'm saying? Because we had the fresh gear. We just talked a certain way. We could just flip shit here and there. So we were not normal like the high school kids in our school. So we
Right,
kind of like had our own group. We had our girls. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't really mess with what was going on everywhere.
right,
And when I was 12, I was heading to San Francisco. I'd be, every weekend, sometimes twice a day to San Francisco, which is 3 hours away at 12 years old, just to check out the graffiti. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
we really love hip hop. So I knew we weren't normal, and I just kind of like stuck to it, and magically that's cool that it happened to where everyone knows me now because that's fresh, and they known me for like 25 years, bro. It's almost 30 years they known me, bro. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm like, I just really started ripping it since 97 is when everyone started to know about me. And it's 2025 now, bro. That's 28 years. So
yeah,
that's a gift. So, okay, gift, right? The term gift. Okay, I have a gift, right? But is my abundance of giving this gift to the world is is what is my purpose. You know what I'm saying? I have an abundance of I know how to get money. I know how to make contracts. I know how to get people together to do shows. I know how to make people enjoy themselves, right? So my abundance is that, and I can give it freely. When I get around other abundant people, it's the same way. I'm like, dude, you got the power like me, like right on. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like straight up, bro. And then you see the haters in between, right? The ones that
right,
they always got that crazy look. They're always asking you some shit from the old school,
yeah.
And
Trying
I
to
got
trying
them.
to like word
They're
it.
not my yeah. It's a weird vibe.
Yeah, like,
He's like, no, bro, you need to grow up, So luckily, God made me a world champion, like when I was a teenager already. I think to kind of like to lead the way, lead the path. Because some of my old friends that I used to hang out with, they're not world champions, you know what I'm saying? So they got the same old stories, the same old bullshit. Start talking about
mhm,
this bullshit. Oh, I fixed my hip. Nigga, you 50 years old. What the fuck, bro? I don't give a fuck about that, bro. You 50, bro. Like, you about to kill the game? Like, nigga, you better go to the hospital. You better go get some physical therapy. Like, what's wrong with you, bro? Like, so
right,
that's the shit I be hearing, bro. And I gotta hang up the phone, bro. I don't really answer much shit because of that. It's like people, I get a lot of good stuff, but then you got those like monitors, people monitoring you just to make you like lower your energy, not let you be
right,
close to God, and then they be
right.
talking about how they know Elohim and all this shit. You don't know shit. And I could tell. Because when I put you on stage with Shannon, you flopped and you did not get one O. The crowd was quiet. And I got five O's. So you better do what I'm doing, bro. Straight up.
Right.
Straight up.
Let's go to your like let's go to Rock Forest, man. Let's go to that group of people because it's pretty clear that you were surrounded by champions, like you were surrounded by legends.
Yes.
Uh, how did you guys come together? Like, how did you guys meet? Did you grow up together? Like, how did that come about?
We didn't, but I always looked up to Rock Forest when I was younger, right? I used to
Uh,
when I was training and stuff, like around 15 years old, 16, I would hear about them. I would hear about them and stuff. And then there was this guy, Elmer. He was running the power move game and stuff. He was like
right,
Little Caesar in them, right?
right,
From Air Force. So, I joined Rock Forest from a recruitment because I was, I knew Cross One in San Diego when I moved to San Diego at 16. So Cross used to
right,
drive me around everywhere. You know what I'm saying? He would pay my entrance to get into shit. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
and you know what I'm saying? Cross is like the older cousin, that had
right.
money.
Like,
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, the
Cross,
big brother.
you know what I'm saying? And Cross really wanted me to win. He just really wanted me to win. So he would do anything to get me on the flight, to get me killing shit because I proved to him already like I can make you guys win. So
Right,
and Cross is he's about winning too, he really will put shit together. So
right,
Polsky called him, right? They were replacing a member of their crew. They were replacing a member of their crew. So they were like, that guy, Vietnam, he's been ripping it at your jams. He's all over the videos and stuff. He's tight. Who is this guy? So Cross is like, yeah, I know him. I'll hook it up. Like Cross is Mr. Businessman. You know what I'm saying? He asked me, he's like, hey, you want to go to Germany and shit? And I'm like 17, bro. I'm like, hell yeah, like, like I'm down, bro. Like, cause
Ripping.
I grew up poor. I couldn't go to Disneyland. Like, I couldn't go to Florida Disneyland like how all the rich kids went.
Right.
I just could go where I did. So traveling for me and breaking allowed that to happen. So I was like, hell yeah, and I went because of that. I went. I didn't know the guys from Rock Forest. You know what I'm saying? I just went because Cross is like, ain't nobody else going to take you to Germany. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You better take this opportunity. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And honestly, a lot of people didn't like that, bro. They were like I had members, a lot of people from California, and then they were like, nah, Rock Forest, nah, don't join Rock Forest, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but see, when everybody talks about somebody, it kind of makes me think, I wonder what's good
Yeah.
about them. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like people are haters, bro. So
That's a blessing. That's a blessing.
it's a blessing, and it turned out pretty good. So I met the guys. And they seemed cool. They seemed cool. We were practicing. I battled all of them to get in, probably like 40 rounds. You know what I'm saying? They really took care of me. They took care of me. We had basically a manager. And he would make sure we had a place to stay. We had all the weed we wanted. We had all the everything.
Right.
So I was like, dude, this is like the NBA, bro. This is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like breaking be this. But see, I had inspiration from my boys from the 209 anyway. Ariston from Style Elements. You had Crumbs. You had Ivan. Those dudes, when I was 13 and 14, were already amazing. So they started
Right.
traveling like around 95, 96, and 97. So I kind of like, I was just like a kid though. So I kind of came
Right.
later. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so it kind of like with Ariston being so like dynamic and so like everywhere. Like this guy was sponsored by Calvin Klein at like 98, bro. Getting like
Right.
G's, you know what I'm saying? Walking the catwalk and shit at 5 feet
Right.
tall. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I already had inspiration to be sick. And I remember Ariston he used to tell me, he's like, he was so confident, he was so confident. He used to be like, he's like, I'll smoke Storm. Man, who you want me to battle, bro? I'll smoke Mauricio. I'll smoke him. I just be dying, bro. Cause I was like,
I
yo,
love it.
guy's confident, bro. And he'd be like, yeah, what? I'll smoke them. Man, who did they think they are? And you've seen it at the Rocksteady. He went crazy against all of them.
Right.
And then I had Ivan. Ivan was always amazing. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? So I had no choice but to be nasty, but to be
Yeah.
sick. So when I joined Rock Forest, I kind of gave that flavor to the Rock Forest, like the last Infinite Stone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they didn't have
Love
that.
it.
You know what I'm saying? So I gave them that Infinite Stone, but it was kind of all they needed because there's something different that comes out of where I'm from right here in the 209, the agricultural middle of it, where because of oppression, we had to make dope shit. There was not
Right.
people around, there was nothing. So we had to, you know what I'm saying? So, that's a blessing when you grow up poor or you grow up like, just kind of alone, you make diamonds out of it. So I'm really thankful for Style Elements, you know what I mean? And for, Rock Force for recruiting me and
Right.
even the second generation rock force, amazing. Sidewalk Breakers too. They were from '84. They were crazy, bro. Look up the tapes, guys. If you guys want to see some dope shit, Sidewalk Breakers, 1984. Oh my God, they were doing a lot of the shit now. Like back then. Even the air flares in there. Even the air
Right.
flares, bro.
In '84.
Yes, like it's not the same. It's more like a Star Trek because we call it Star Trek. So the airflow is more piped. But
Yep.
it's
Yep.
the 360 all the way around, and it caught it to windmill, and it's the
Right.
same concept. So
Yeah. Okay. So basically, yeah, that does sound like the NBA to me. Like you got a team, you got a manager, they're taking care of you. Eh, and when I love the initiation, by the way, 40 rounds, you just go in and you got to throw down. They got to know, right? Was there ever a time when you had joined them where you were like, okay, no, this isn't the right, this isn't the right setting. This is because I find in those cases, like obviously they do their best to curate a great team or bring great people together that are aligned, but also probably difficult because you have a bunch of great dancers. They're all very talented. Did you find that there was conflicts as well, or did you find there was some tensions ever?
it's like a band. You know how the band always breaks up? It's like
Yeah.
that. Like it's dope at the beginning, and everyone's flying high. But once people's ego gets in the way, or they get a little
Right.
jealous, or they get whatever, they start hating. So
Hmm.
I kind of just like I don't like a bad vibe around people. So when people start treating me weird because I won this or I got dope, I'm like, fuck you then.
Right.
I don't really need to be around you.
Yeah.
I already know how to do everything. So
Right.
thank you. Bye bye. And vibes don't lie. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of why the party ended for me. I mean, it didn't end, but I'll always be rock horse, you know what I'm saying? But it just kind
Right.
of ended as far as like who I want to be around because, and shouts out to all of them, you know what I'm saying? And it's not any of the members that is it. It's just more like I don't really want to say who, but some people just
Hmm.
had ego and they just thought they were bigger than the program, and
Right.
that's why the program fell. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And it's kind of sad because it's like I always was like for team.
Right.
I was always like assist here, assist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you had these other people who's just like tripping, bro. Just tripping, think they're bigger. They don't even dance, bro. You don't even dance. Go hold the bag. Take my Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? So that's what messed it up. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, like, it was not the members dancing. You know what I'm saying? Nah,
Right.
everyone was putting in work. It's just more like the other people on the outside,
Yeah. The
trying to hack
politics,
the
essentially.
politics, bro. Stop it.
Yeah. Love
So
that.
that's what happened.
Did you? Yeah, I agree, and I think like I even even in Canada is a great example of some of the dance groups that we seen coming up. It was always something on the outside, or one member that got inserted that sort of created conflicts and divide. Because for me, when I look at and I'll tell you, like you were up there in my all times, and the reason why was not just the work that you did when you were on the floor, but it's clear when the group was together and you were present, just like an NBA team, like LeBron James makes the team better,
Amen.
and I felt that. I felt that in the battles, like family, all of those big battles that you're like, yo, and you see Vietnam there. putting in work or coming in when people didn't, I wouldn't say didn't have an answer, but the answer was uncertain. That was the leadership that sort of came into play. And I noticed that. I recognize that. And I'm sure a lot of people
Man,
did.
that's
So
that's crazy because that's what I was trying to do, but I didn't know people could see that through it, you know. But I find out later when you guys talk to me, I'm like, yo, they was seeing the artistry, you know,
for real.
because that's
For real.
really what I was trying to
Because
do.
it's all right. Sorry, we had a bit of a technical issue. Basically, where I was at was I was essentially asking you like your sort of influence on Rock Force, especially when it came to battles. And the analogy I used was somebody like LeBron James who sort of impacts and makes the team much better and just adds certain things. First off, did you feel you did that for the team? Number one. And number two, did you feel that everybody sort of had some of those angles to support that? But because we noticed, and I think I told you, the audience, no question, noticed that in certain battles, like there was just more when Nam was there, and there was just, and there was a little bit more intensity almost, and there was a little bit more competitiveness, I guess. And that's probably, I mean, and especially in my world, what put you up there is because that really made me think like, man, this guy brings it, and it makes his team bring it as well. So did what was that intentional first off? And did
Yes,
you
it
find that everybody sort of understood that?
yes, because you know I learned to be a team player. I studied you know the Jordans, the teams, Larry Bird, greats. You know, so I was doing that intentionally. You know, I have a lot of skills, so I could do a lot more. But what was needed for this particular game and this particular battle was just this. So I could stretch myself far. You know, when I need to, and sometimes I can play defense. You know, and I can guard and you
Right.
know we're speaking you know basketball you know breaking is the same thing so
Yeah.
you know because I had a lot of you know everything you know basics you know top rock dude when I was winning all the crazy shit I had a ligament tear and an ACL tear so I had a big bandage on my and a knee brace I used to wear you know so I was always like limping around but in the battles I just turn it up you know and that's because I didn't not just
Right.
sit out you know I always like to do it. So when you seen the 99, I won the best dancer of the year. I had an ACL surgery that needs to be repaired, you know, and I repaired it 2 months later, you know. So it's just kind of like
Wow.
you have to be the dopest. You have to practice more than everybody to where when you got to do it, it's just on. So I have a game mode that I can turn into, you know. And you know, right now you're just seeing the chill Vietnam. He's 46, kicking it, you know. I'm just relaxed, I'm calm, you know.
Yeah.
But right then, bro, you know, I was like, I've been waiting so long, bro, and I seen my boys do it, you know. Shout out to Stylemans, they were the first American Battle of the Year champions. You know what I'm saying? That I couldn't do
Yeah.
no bad, you know. I couldn't let them down. I couldn't let my town down. I couldn't let my family down. I just had to turn it on, and then when you get into the hotel later, then you put on the ice. You know, then you chill. You
That's
know what
what.
I'm saying? But right there, I've been waiting to be here, bro. So I'm turning it up.
Yeah.
I'm turning it up. So
Uh,
I
let's
love
go to style element.
that. You know, you guys really seen that because that's what I was doing. You know, I
Okay.
never try to be the showboat. You know, because I never was the dopest. You know, I just was the most versatile. You know, but as far as the other members, that's what made us great too. Is because we had Jeff. Jeff could do every power move that there was, bro, except for the air tracks.
Yeah.
He got those later, like in
Right.
2000, in the 2000s stuff. But
Right.
dude, Jeff was
He
crazy,
was
bro.
wild.
Oh my, just wild, bro. 40
Yeah.
scratch 90s, 25 wrist.
Wow.
Dude, this guy he'd do like elbow slide, pop up, wrist
Yeah.
90, elbow tap, wrist 90, elbow tap, wrist 90. Come over here, slide on his head in a hollow back, over here, catch it,
Yeah.
start flaring, windmill, flowers. Like I just seen too much crazy. So that's just Jeff, right? Then there was
Yeah.
Alwyn. Alwyn had all the Lotus shit like crazy, and the fastest
Yeah.
baby like I've ever seen, baby windmills. So it was his own part, you know. Maya, style guy, man, just a lot of style, bro. Like Maya, he's blessed, you know. He's really blessed. Shout out to
Yeah.
Maya. And then we have Bionic Man, amazing popper, bro. Like Bionic Man,
Yeah.
man, like he's an amazing dancer in general and a very very intelligent person, you know. I was also a
Right.
Christian. and Maya's a Christian too, And then we had
Right.
who else did we have? We had we had a locker too. His name was JP, and he used to do the routines,
Okay.
man, and he was good in locking.
Right.
So we kind of made it great. And then we had Gerald, and Gerald, bro, was like as far as strength, and if you needed someone to be strong and then to do the air and save the day, he was
Right.
our Captain America. Like he would come in, dun, 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 windmill
Right.
room air check. So, but Gerald didn't really have like the form for the footwork and all that. He comes from a
Right.
crew. They weren't into that, They were chaos. They were power movers. But
Right.
Gerald was a gymnast, so Gerald could learn everything. And you know what was crazy about Gerald is he never smoked, he never drank. He just was an all around good guy, like a good. He could beat your
Right.
ass, you know what I'm saying, if he had to, but he never
Right.
had to. You know what I'm saying? He just was a good guy. When he passed away, it kind of was like, dang, I don't really ever meet really good people like that. You know what I'm saying? And he was one of them.
Right.
Like he's someone that I strive to be like, because he didn't. There's some people on this earth, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They're really, really
Mhm.
close to God, and Gerald was one of them,
Right.
and that's why he was so blessed and so talented, and so I looked up to him, and he could do all, man, he could do. We would be like, we'll try some shit and say, do this, do it, you do it, right there, right in the little
Mhm.
space, just do it,
Right.
and it was like first time.
Right.
So Gerald was our hero, and then when he passed away, me and Jeff had to take it over. We had to do it for Gerald. We had to literally be both of us, to just like, bring Rock Force to the top. Because a lot of people thought when Gerald got shot for the first time and he didn't die, that we were done,
Right.
and a lot of people wanted us done. They was like, nah, a lot of jealousy, and they didn't want, oh, you
Right.
guys, we didn't like you guys anyway, and now you guys are winning and you guys are
Mhm.
doing all, fuck you guys, and it's like, dude, I used to have people say they wanted to kill me because I, 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 I joined Rock Force or I was a world champion. They wanted to kill me, bro. So that's how crazy this shit is, bro. And jealousy and envy, bro. Like I really had to go through that, bro. So I don't even tell my students all this, but it was like crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And I never really been scared. You know what I'm saying? I always, I can handle myself,
Mhm.
but it's just, that's the concept of this world, that people will want to kill you
Mhm.
because you're dope. Like that's crazy.
Right. You're doing great things. Let's go through some of the other members. So I don't know. I probably only know their b-boy names, but you got like Iron Monkey. Um, yeah, I think he played for Power. Um, you got Reveal. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about how those guys played into all
Oh
this.
yeah, revealing monkey. So it was like a package deal, right? I joined Rock Force first because I used to get down a lot with Iron Monkey and Reveal back in the '97 and all that, right? Iron Monkey and them, they were like running LA and they used to try to battle me, right? It'd be like me versus like five of them, Iron Monkey, always
Right. Right.
they all be battling me, bro, and I'd be smoking them all, you know what I'm saying? Just smoking. But Iron Monkey, we became friends after that, and he was good. And then Reveal, when I moved to San Diego at 16 in 1996, I practiced with Reveal and them, and Reveal used to look up to me, he used to look up to me. I was running San Diego, and he was one of the dopest before I got there. So me and him linked up, and we were good. I was just like, "Oh, you're from Philippines, man, that's dope." Shit,
Right.
So, and bro, that motherfucker had hella moves, bro. Like, talk about
Right.
like 5,000 moves. That was Reveal. Like he could
Wow.
do everything, bro. So when he seen my stuff, he started to stick it more, And I learned
Right.
sticking shit from like where I'm from, the 209, because we had Ariston sticking stuff. You remember how Ariston does that hollow back, and it's not flat all the way. It's like boom. He calls that a
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah.
And the way that
Calls that what?
he calls it a seven. That's the seven because that's
A
his favorite
seven.
number, right? And that
Oh, okay.
he does it like that purposely, like he's trying to do a
Yeah.
something, and the stick
Interesting.
of it makes people go, "Oh!" It's like a
Yeah.
pause
Yeah.
in time. So it's like that pause in time is from the 209. I used to see people do the skateboard pike, and they would jump back into it, boom, and just freeze time,
Right.
and the whole crowd go
Just
crazy.
hold.
So I kind of like
Right.
I kind of vibed off that, you know. And in my town, it was like it was mixed. It was like I mean, our area, it was like housers, which is like they dance
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
house, like Mop Top and them.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was that mixed with the breaking. So when you did the breaking with the house, that's when you was getting the blow ups and stuff. And so that
yeah. Right.
style was very prevalent in the 209 area. And the best dancers did it. And I was just young, so I kind of just caught on, you know. And I like the parties, you know. I like the part. I like getting them free, you know. I was like, oh shit, dude, I don't have to pay, and I'm only 13. And you guys want to come too? I have my little group of like b-boys, breakers, you know, and call
Right.
SOS. We would come in and we were getting in free, and it was crazy. Like we didn't have to get paid. That was our pay. So
Right. Right. Let's move to style elements. You've brought them up a few times. So sorry, is it's Ariston and which is
Arista,
Remind, right? And
yes.
then you got Crumbs. Like clearly they influenced you, and so are they? They were influenced earlier, I guess, before Rock Force even. Like they were there
Yes.
in the
Yes.
beginning.
Because I used to hang out with them since I was 12 years old, right? Probably in '93. I
Wow.
used to see Ariston and Crumbs and them all at dances and parties, you know. And Ariston just
Oh, I see.
pimping it, bro. And I was like, these guys, they dance all night. They just are always in the circle. Ariston used to be
Right.
part of Triangle of Flavor, and they used to throw these big parties that were like 2,000 people, right? And he was like a dancer for them and kind of like a promoter, you know. Hocus was, you know, also throwing events. That's Ivan's brother. So they were all
Okay.
part of the Triangle of Flavor, and the Triangle of Flavor was this
Uh,
massive thing. It was like 2,000 people the whole time, and so many girls, bro. So many girls getting free. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we were
yeah.
going for. You know, we was like, oh shit, you could get a number, you can go get the number, and then go with them to at Denny's later. And you know what I'm saying? So we were just really like doing it for the girls, you know what I'm saying? Like for the girls. So
Yeah, when you're young like that, it's simple. Things are so simple. You just do it for fun. You do it, you're not even getting paid, but there's a little bit of status involved. And yeah, you're doing it for the ladies. You're doing it for
yeah,
the ladies, right?
ladies make the world go around, straight up.
Um, yeah, for real. So, was there a time where that was sort of a direction where you're like, maybe I should be dancing or battling with them? Because now that you're mentioning this to me, like there is some real almost I could sense that there would be some synergy between yourself and Remind and Crumbs like they they're wild, man, and they're
Well,
battle
even
cats
Derek
too, right?
too.
Like they really.
Even Derek, Boogie T, Ivan. I'm like all
uh,
them combined, you know?
right,
Like all
yeah,
them
yeah,
combined and other people too, all influenced in, you know, like legends, like just everybody, you know? Because they,
right,
you know, it's like, you know, I was younger, you know what I'm saying? And you know, it just kind of like it was just hip hop, you know, hip hop, and you know, taking the younger guys, teach them, and then we learned on our own, you know. We would go, we would vibe out with them, and then we would go back to our town and just practice our stuff and get better, and then come back. We have more
right,
moves, come back, have more moves. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like an exchange, you know, to where it was like we we got better as they were great already. You know, great, but not
I like it.
known yet until they battle Rocksteady. You know, and it won the
Right,
Radio the California Championship. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just that whole exchange. You know, that whole trying to just be like how my mentors are, you know what I'm saying? My mentors, and then you know if they're good people, that's good too, you know. So I learned
right,
the best of what everybody does, and just kind of like have my own way of it, you know what I'm saying? And luckily they were good people, you know. They were good people that inspired me to be good too, and they didn't really say take dancing serious, but they took it serious. So since they took it serious, like I took it serious. But then they went off
right.
on tour, right? And then I went to college. I went to college at 16 in San Diego, and I was like, but I love dancing, so I always have my linoleum, and I always just practicing my steps, you know, just for the love of it, you know. And then when people started to take me around and stuff, I was like, oh shit, it's happening for me too. This is crazy. But I remember at 16
Yeah,
practicing my steps, and I remember thinking, this might go somewhere because usually people when they're about to blow up, they have this alone time where they're just doing things for just the right reason, but no one's really like into it. And I remember
Right.
thinking that at 16, and then it happened like at 17. So I was like, yes, okay, like
Yeah.
that's cool, man. Like that's what's up.
Right. It's just the constant work and then finally a breakthrough or yeah, you kind of sense that, oh, okay, there's sort of something on the horizon. So you're sort of mentally preparing probably as well in that alone time and that peace and well the dedication is probably really vital in those times, right? So what was your training regimen like? Like was it just dance all the time, anytime you get a chance or because
Oh yeah.
clearly like
We
you want
um we uh we tried to get the best things for ourselves, all the best supplements, the best shoes, and that all comes from Ariston, to be honest, because Ariston, he always had all the best things. And then when we would go to Donnie's house, Crumbs, they'd have the creatine, they have the protein, they have the this and the that.
right.
So we were like, dude, we gotta get some of that too, you know what I'm saying? So we went to GNC, you know what I mean, and got
Yeah.
that stuff, and then we developed too, So it's like, because I don't think a lot of b boys at the time were doing that. I think a lot of b boys,
Right.
they were just, they just dance and stuff. But we were athletes with it. We literally were like, this is gonna be serious, and even if it ain't serious, we still gotta do this because we want to be the best. We want to be excellent. So I think that's where it comes from, though, is Ariston and all his ideas. Because he made that happen. He was
Right.
sponsored first. He went to Jam on the Groove and went with Rocksteady and them. He always had these different Nikes, all types of different Nikes and shit, sponsored clothes. So it was like, damn, we got to do that too. And then we did it.
Oh, it's great to have those people in your circle and in your network to really, yeah, just elevate you, right? And it just becomes natural because you're like, hey, this person's doing great. I want to do that. I want to be there. I want to understand that, right? Did you? So was there a lot of practice with them as well,
Yes, yes.
or was it just you just saw them
Yeah,
around?
we literally would go to Crumbs's house where he had the lab, the studio in his garage for
Right.
like we would stay for 3 weeks. Then we would go home for like a couple weeks, come again for 2 more weeks, come home for like a couple days, go back for like a month. You know what I mean? We would just literally
Right.
kept in because to me that was the dopest shit. I had my crew where I was at and stuff like that, but they were dope too. But it wasn't on that level of just like
Right.
where I really wanted to go. So I kind of like had to just kind of like just practice over here and
That's
and
right.
then the Bible's wrong too. After you start to elevate to a certain level, you start to
Yep.
hear the nonsense, and you start to hear this and the that. And I get it because my old crew, they were raised like gang mentality, parents and everything. So
Mm.
they stick to family, la familia, So they're not gonna
Right.
let you go hang out over here. They're gonna try to keep you, so that you could, and I get it, you know what I'm saying? But I just like I never really, I never really sponsored to, people controlling you. You know what I'm saying? I'm free. I'm a free person.
That's
And
right.
so I always, you know, you know.
Are you still in contact with a lot of them?
Oh yeah, they're around and stuff. A lot of them have kids. Some went to jail. Some passed
Right.
away. You know what I mean? I see them from time to time. Some work on my car. You know what I mean? They didn't really have the blessing that I did to be super dope. But everybody isn't supposed to be the dopest b-boy. Some people are going to
Right.
be a good accountant. Some people are going to be a good lawyer. Some people are going to be a good teacher.
That's right.
You have to just do what the world keeps presenting to you and keeps giving you affirmation that this is good for you. And
Right. And you
I work with
just do what's best with what you have in a sense, right?
yes, like you just that's all you do. You just follow the clues and you keep going and you never quit trying to be a good person, because you got to have humility in this and humbleness. You have to respect your craft, but you can't be an asshole. You can't be
That's
you
right.
thinking you just the man and stuff like that because there's a new man every year. So you have to have that humility. That's always been important for me, and that's why I get turned away by like when I see arrogance or I see you know ungodliness, because it's like, bro, like you ain't even shit. I did
Yeah.
everything. You know what I'm saying? My boys did everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who are you guys? You want to be arrogant and shit. You still got to learn, bro. You still got to calm down and learn. And then you're going to realize,
Right.
oh, that's what they were talking about. Because it takes time to build up in life, too. Like, I'm 46 now. So I've seen a lot and did a lot, Because
Right.
even when after I did the world championships and all that, I worked in Hollywood for 10 years and I did videos and tours with Missy Elliott, Christina Aguilera, J-Lo,
Right.
did the fashion walks. I did the Vogue magazine. I did the PlayStation commercial. I have my own PlayStation. I already did hella shit, bro. Hella shit.
Right.
Movies. I'm in like 5 movies. You know what I'm saying? John Travolta and all these kind of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at them, I was like, yo, if we ain't doing it like that, we're not really doing it. And they're humble people.
Right.
The RZA and all them, they're humble people. Like they watch us
Right.
on the stage and they come up and they're like, hey man, you guys made our day. That was so amazing to watch you guys. And I'm like, see, that's why you are who you are, John Travolta. That's why you are who you are,
Right.
DeRizzo. That's why you are who you are, Andre 3000 from Outkast. Because you guys see it, and you guys know
Right.
real talks to real, real recognize real.
That's
So
right.
we're all the same, we're all the same as far as like, dope. It's just those guys, they're the actors. Some guys are the rappers, some guys are the breakers, some guys are the dope dealers, some guys are the preachers,
Everyone.
some guys are the spiritual
Right.
guys. It's just all walks of life, but real recognize real. So then that's what we see. You can't hide it. Um,
That's
and
right. I
and that
love that.
that's it. That's the bottom line of
Who were yeah who where was it like I mean clearly world championships like where give me a couple of highlights where you were like it was almost surreal where you were like man I can't believe I'm here, this is amazing, like give me the peaks, a couple of peaks where you went wow,
the
this is
peak.
it.
Okay, the first peak was like uh, was Battle of the Year '99, right when I won the Best Dancer. I was
Yeah,
like, holy fuck!
that's wild, man.
So
Well deserved.
I made
Well
a deal.
deserved, by the way.
I made a deal with God. I said, God, I'm gonna quit weed for 3 months. Let me have a good representation and showing in this '99 Battle of the Year that I've never had before. And God said, yeah, I got you. And I fucked it up. I smoked weed in Amsterdam. I was like, fuck, I had to smoke, so I smoked. And that was like four
Right.
days before, the Battle of the Year. But it didn't matter because God's like, no, he already did his thing. So and I know that his heart is there. That's the thing is that you're not gonna win shit or be sick if you dope if your heart isn't there. God knows what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're just doing
Right.
dumb shit and you think because I win this, that's gonna make everybody know. God knows your intention, so He's not gonna give you that. Everything is through God, so God's gonna give you everything that you need. Some things are too much for you. You know what I'm saying? Like if God wanted me to make a bunch of money in the stock market, He would have already did it for me. But the most I made is 14,000 in investing in Dogecoin. I made it off one flip off off $60 to fourteen
Right.
thousand dollars in 2000.
Right.
When did Dogecoin blow up? Like 5 years
Well
ago.
that would have been yeah, yeah about the same.
And my boy Ray, he just told me, he's like, hey, invest in Dogecoin, bro. And I was like, what the fuck is that? He's like, bro, trust me, bro. Trust me. Like Jordans, bro. He's like, no, bro, just trust me. Ray's very intuitive. So
Right.
he's like, put all your money into it, and I was like, I'm gonna put $60, you know what I'm saying? So I put 60, that flipped to 600, and I put it all back
Right.
in. That flipped to 3,000, flipped to 6,000 to 14,000,
Yeah.
and I pulled it all out. And I invested in other stocks. And I bought a couple cars. I always buy used cars. So I think I bought like Subaru. I bought like a Lexus, like an older one. We're into old
Yeah.
cars and stuff. So and we fix them. We fix them or however
Right.
mechanics fix them. So I'm always about to not having a lot of bills. Like I'm very
Right.
smart and financially astute. You know what I'm saying? So I never always been about flexing or flossing. Like yeah, I got the $600 shoes. Yeah, the Gucci. You know what I'm saying? But I don't
Right.
pay
Right.
a lot for them. Because when I went to the industry in 2000 in Hollywood, I learned that they're just trying to sell everybody on that you can't get this and that we
Right.
got it, right? So that Gucci you're paying for, the $10,000 Gucci made it for $100, but he got the model.
Less even sometimes. Yeah.
Yes, bro. You get the same shit at the flea market. You know what I'm saying? Like you
100%.
make it what it is. So branding and brands and stuff taught me that, tribal was our Gucci. You know what I'm saying? For us,
Right.
you had to earn it. So that's the thing about being a b-boy or into hip hop is you have to earn all your respect. So that taught me early that like it's really about earning it, and not saying Gucci and them didn't earn it. They did earn it
No, but
to make it a level, but then they kind of like the way that the fashion industry is they kind of make everyone feel bad about it, and that's bad, you know, because it's like that's
right,
you know what I mean. But like you got to think like Hermes and all that. Though they're praying to like deities that
right,
are kind of satanic. You know what I mean? So yeah, they got a lot of
right,
things on this earth, but it's a satanic way of doing it, you know? So they're
right.
tricking a lot of people. So a lot of people's like, oh, I gotta get the Gucci, I gotta get this. The
Yeah,
fighting with the boyfriend because he won't buy her Gucci, and it's like, girl, you Gucci, you know what I'm saying? But she ain't hearing that, you know what I'm saying? She want the
yeah,
Gucci. So that's kind of fucked up, you know. That's whack, and you
yeah.
know, I could get free shit, you know. I always got gear for free, you know, and so I learned, you know, early that
Yeah. So, yeah, it seems like your early exposure to the, we'll call it, yeah, essentially the famous side or the side of celebrities and whatnot really probably brought a level of consciousness to you that went, oh, that's not for me, or this is not something that I need to engage in. Is that, would you agree with that statement?
you know what? A lot of them are cornballs too, though, to be honest, because of this.
Yeah.
You know, God is the real celebrity, you know what I'm saying? God, Jesus, that's the real celebrity, you know? You know, but a lot of people are corny, you know, like when they get all rich, they think they're all the shit, you know? But really, like they ain't even did shit. You're just good at one thing. Okay, good for you, you know. But are you spiritual? You know, when you're spiritual and you're a nice person, that's the higher. That's why I like people like Moy from Havoc Koro. Like
Yeah.
Moy, and that's why he's where he is because he's dope. You know, he's like
Right.
he's God. He's into giving. You know what I'm saying? He's into just being a good person. So and he'll tell you how it is too. You know, if you're trying to like just fucking treat him stupid, he'll tell you, like
Right.
he's he knows what's up. So you know what I mean? It's that type of thing where I know who's doing it the right way. You know what I'm saying? Uh and I know who's bullshitting, and that's why
Right.
Moy is where he is. You know what I mean? And there's other uh, people in the scene that are doing it like that, and they don't have to have a lot of money. It's more of abundance thing, using your skill to be abundant for everybody. If you got skills, teach everybody. Then if you're friendly, teach
Right.
everybody that. If you're good at business, get everybody a bunch of contracts so they could get paid. You know what I'm saying? If you're a
Right.
good talker, teach people to be motivational. If you're a good rapper, rap about motivational things so people can strive to that level. You know what I'm saying? Like that's abundance. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't really understand that till later when I got into Derek Prince. Derek Prince is he's a Christian pastor. He's passed away, but he
Right.
kicks a lot of game on me. I listen to him every morning, and he talks about that principle. And I applied it to my life, and I'm like, damn, yeah, that's real, bro. Like being abundant, bro, because this world will teach you that will trick you and make you think like you gotta have $1 million. But I told you the $1 million
Right.
people's cornballs, bro. They want to be us,
Right.
bro. They want to be us.
That's right.
So it's kind
They
of
will
like,
try to use all of that money to try to become real when they were actually real from the beginning,
yes.
or could have been, right?
And sometimes it's like the rich people I know and shit, they're always trying to be scummy, like low down, like as if they had all this pain and oppression, and they didn't even go through that. We went through
Right.
that. You guys just be yourself, bro. Talk about your stories and all that in your way, because you didn't go through the struggle. So, thank God you didn't have to, you know what I'm saying? I guess that
That's
was
right.
your thing this lifetime. But you don't have to fake it. You don't have to you don't have to do drugs, you don't have to, act like you're just so mad at everything, just have fun.
Hmm.
You got money, now you can, because you're supposed to use your money to have friends on this earth. That's what your money is for, so that you can say, oh, you don't got money though? Here's some money, so you could get some money,
Hmm.
and now we both got money. So now it's like the bread concept. You know how Jesus
Right.
multiplied the bread or the fish, and he made it 500. It's the same
Right.
concept. That's why I've always given out all my money. I always spend. I always recycle it, like because that's
Right.
literally what I'm trying to do. Like I'm literally trying to not hold on to this little stupid paper, coins, whatever,
Right.
and trying to
Yeah.
just go everywhere, and it works. It really works.
Right.
So and
Yeah. That is an abundant mindset.
you got to live low too, though. Like I don't have a lot of bills, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's important. Like some people are financing these cars that are like $40,000, $100,000. You haven't even bought a house yet, and you're gonna finance
Right.
$40,000 car, bro. It's gonna be
Right.
20,000 next year, and then it's gonna be 15,000, then it's gonna be 10,000. So you just lost money. You're supposed to, go up slowly. You don't have to flex.
Right.
The new Beamer. Beamers are whack cars anyway. Beamer is whack.
Yeah.
It's dope, but it's not dope because you have to go to BMW to do it. And if your friend fixes BMWs, they could do it. But now they're making a new screw. I heard that so that they have to fix it in the BMW, and it's like, come on, bro,
Hmm.
you're gonna lose a
Well, they
car,
even have
you know?
yeah, they even have subscription based stuff. I think they got rid of it now, but they were doing a thing where you had to pay. Another thing you don't know about me is I came from the car business, but
Okay.
subscription based heated seats. So you need to pay a certain something to have heated seats, and if you don't, they turn them on. Well, like that's ridiculous, first off. But
That's if you copy it.
and you're right, there is a directional change in that where they're just controlling everything, where they just want to have you constantly pay for things, and oh, you want to use this app with it, and oh, you want to start your car with that, and you're just paying in, and you're right, it's it's a very momentary thing. Like if you're driving a BMW, it's and again, if you're driving it for the right reason, which to me is just solely your enjoyment.
Yeah.
You don't want to be driving it, like, hey, look at me, I'm in a BMW, I got the nicest car, or, I got all the money or its status. No, if you truly enjoy a nice vehicle, then fine, and you have the means to do so, and you have your other life parts in check, where yeah, you've purchased a house or whatever first, and absolutely. But I do find that yeah, people do it generally for the wrong reasons. It's look at me, I'm in this BMW, or and yeah, it's a fleeting moment because not
Yes.
only does it depreciate, but it causes you problems in
Yes.
2 years' time. And you're like, what the hell? And now you're headache because you're constantly chasing this level of status and feeling, right? So yeah, no, I feel you. And it is
They
something that's
do. They
scary
do
about
drive nice.
today's.
Like Mercedes
Oh
is
yeah, sure.
perfect. Like the Lexus is perfect. Like it's just the way it is, And but you have to have that money, You have to have that price tag. And if you're a hustler, do it. Like if you like to do that, I don't, let's say $1,000 car note, if you can afford it, cool, But
Right.
you might end up stripping to do that. Saying you might end up selling, what I'm saying? Then you're going to
OnlyFans.
jail and all that. So you might as well just go up as you do. Like, and then we did that too. We did that. We rocked the crazy cars to try to floss. It's like in LA, you had to have a Lexus, Mercedes, because all the dancers have that. So if you don't have that, you're not working. It means, So that kind of like it's a language thing. It's like a language thing. Like there's a language in this world too, whereas like even though it's not really important, certain things speak too. The logos, the cars, and all that. But you shouldn't get carried away with it. You should just more if someone's just dressed nice, that is if they got a good personality, that's everything. They're
Yeah.
clean, they speak well, they speak proper. That's more important than the BMW. The BMW,
No
it can trick people, but eventually, so I'm a man, right? Them girls, they're using you for the BMW. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? Because when
Yeah. 100%.
when you don't got the BMW no more and you're back in the Honda, they're out, bro. Just gone, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. It wasn't about you, and you need to make it about you. And you need
Yeah.
to be BMW. You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
Where did the financial and business acumen come from? Like, was it getting money at a young age that you needed to know how to preserve it and know what to do with it? Like, where did that all come from?
Yes, because grew up poor. I grew up poor, so I couldn't really afford a lot of things. My dad passed away at 8, so my mom, she had to save this little money that she had. But I noticed she always liked to work. And she was always like, "Don't be lazy. Always work. Even if it's just for this little bit, just work." So I always kept that concept going and just working. And even though I don't have to work so much no more because I've set it up to where if I'm not receiving residuals, I got my little job here or I got the teaching here. I only teach really like 5 hours, no, 5 days a month. to get my salary.
Right.
Not,
Right.
it's enough to live off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because time is important. And my older brother, he set me up when I was 20 with these books like Robert Kiyosaki,
Yeah.
a
Nice.
lot of Wayne Dyer, spiritual stuff that taught me the important things of life, and Robert Kiyosaki is the big one. And he has that one, two, three, four, like boxes where he says,
Yep.
make sure
Yep.
that you pay yourself and make sure that you invest so that it comes back and you pay yourself. So I always stuck to them boxes, and I was always like, damn, if it's not making you money, then why are you doing it? Or maybe the money's
Right.
coming later, or maybe the joy is coming later. It's got to make sense. So I never really been
Right.
about like just wasting my time, my money, my anything because of that setup. Those books, and we're big into reading. You know what I'm saying? So that's really.
Nice. Yeah. What is life like for you now? So clearly, you mentioned you're teaching kids. You talked a little bit about special ed. And what do you do with your time?
If I'm not teaching, I'm going to practice. I have my own studio right up the street. You know what I'm saying? I teach dancers there. I'm always like writing contracts. That the museum they'll hire me to teach here or there. So I'm all in all these schools. From here to Los Banos, all
Right.
around 50-mile radius. I just wrote a
Right.
contract for El Nido this week. So that's to be 4 days of a teacher, kind of like I'll be like a PE teacher, but it'd be like a breaking teacher.
Oh, nice.
You know how the salary gets paid of the teacher, and we make a lot in Cali here too. It would be that, but I,
Right.
I I made it to where my contract is I'm paid this amount for an hour because teachers normally make about $30 to $40. I make like between $100 and $400 an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So my time is very valuable. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And that allows me to work less because when I do work, I'm gonna kill the game. They're gonna learn a lot. They're gonna love it. They're gonna hear all types of shit they never heard before, and that's
Right.
why it's $400 an hour. You know what I mean? And it's not like I don't do a lot of free shit. Like at my studio, I teach kids for $15 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Which is a very
Right.
low price. If you don't have all the money, you only have $10, then fuck it. Come on. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have any money, free. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
Right.
we already we're already blessed, and we already got all types of shit. Through our hard work and breaking. So now it's time to give back and to give to the kids because the kids are the future. They're important, and if they see you doing
Right.
right, they're gonna do right. But if they follow someone else that's like doing all the wrong things, they're gonna do that too, and they're gonna mess up. They're gonna be right in front of
Right.
the most important thing in their life, and then their arrogance is gonna come out, or they're gonna just say the wrong thing, and it's because you didn't have the
Right.
right mentor. Mentor is very important. It's very
No
important.
question. Yeah, I think that's great. And openly, I think I told you when we got started that was part of the Legend podcast platform for us is educators or mentors, creatives, entrepreneurs, and I find a lot of people tend to just in today's world fit into all three of them. And I find creatives have to take this responsibility to go, oh, I need to make money, so I have to be an entrepreneur to be creative. And then once I've learned the process of, I want to continue to build people's confidence and, and like our youth, which to me is probably the most overlooked thing in like, I don't know what it's like in Cali, but in Canada, there's so much questioning around education and like what type of money we put into it and who's educating our children and what we're teaching our children. And so I think it's so important, and you'll see later in some of the other episodes that we do, we have a lot of people who are really truly just targeting the youth and just trying to support them the best and teach them valuable things that our future needs, so would you agree that Cali is kind of in the same state right now
Yeah,
as
Cali,
well?
Cali is getting into that state, and it just happened probably like 3 years ago, where there's a lot of art grants and things flowing in and stuff that
Right. Oh, that's
because
great.
like okay, like all the top universities in the United States, like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and all that, they started out as Christian schools, right? They started out teaching
Right.
Jesus Christ, and then they started getting all these cool teachers through there because they had the money and they could pay.
Right.
So the community colleges are now becoming that, and now the elementaries and junior highs are catching on in the high schools because they're like all trying to be like that, you know? So they
Right.
gotta get all the dopest teachers, you know? I live in a place where it's kind of just a little bit slower than Cali, so they've been doing this in LA and they've been doing this in the Bay, you know?
Oh,
But like right here, it's just barely happening in this town. And I'm kind of like one of the first to facilitate it, you know, because
that's great.
well my booker, the education manager, she's really smart. You know, she went to Oxford University. She studied stem cells and all that. You know, so she knew, okay, you know, Mr. Leon, I got to hook him up. You know, I got to make sure, you know, that everything's good for him because he's one of the people
Hmm.
that can be good for the kids. You know? And you know, me and her talk. We were just talking about like vibration for like for immune cells and stuff like that. And I was giving her the right
Right.
frequency for it. And she went to Oxford and she never studied that before. She did stuff more
Right.
of an institutional way, you know, textbook and stuff. But I'm like, but check this out, you know. I sent her this. I talked to her about this, and she's like, "Oh, wow!" Because sometimes when you go to school, your brain is so stuck. You know, they just teach you
100%.
to good schools too. You know, I did work at Harvard. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I went to Cal State LA back in the 2000s. You know, I came up through
Mm.
junior colleges too. You know what I mean? So I understand
Right.
that stuff. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's how you break it down and you make it simple for people. You don't complicate their minds and make it just only narrow
Yeah.
sighted. You allow things to go this way and that way so that you meet in the middle somewhere and you get that good vision. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Vision, you know, all around. I can't see what's behind me right there. I know there's mirrors right
Hmm.
there, right? But
Right.
you know you could, because so that's what you need friends and mentors and everything for. And if you always listen, you know, you get us. I know I'm talking now because it's the interview, you know what I'm saying? But most of the time I'm quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I let other people talk and I let them say what they got to say, you know, because you know, you could talk all day, but it's like, what are you learning? You got to listen to learn
Yeah.
and, you know, get the insight. And you might learn something from that, you know? So,
Right. Right. Yeah. I love this because I feel like you and I could do a whole nother episode just on that
yeah,
because there's such a I think we'll call it higher learning. There's just a whole nother level of education that I think obviously hasn't been taught. And now that I'm a new father, I think about that stuff all the time. I'm like, man, should I homeschool my child? Like, what are the things that I'm learning? That,
you
but
should homeschool your child, to be honest, because you learn more.
yeah,
Like,
uh,
because I see the homeschool kids, right? When I used to teach at this school, which was like a school, and then they would have the homeschool kids. And those primarily were dancers or homeschool kids. You know, they're
right,
smarter, bro. They're smarter because you tailor what you want them to learn instead of
right,
the public education system doing. The public
that's right,
education system is not trying to have you learn the dopest shit. You do algebra in junior high and you do it
right,
again in high school. It's a repeat. So that's
right, right.
stupid. That's dumb.
Yeah,
You learned it. Like, what are you doing? So it's just like a big
no,
money, and it's not. It's
100%.
that's all it is, you know. But we can speak about that later. You know what I'm saying?
We will. Yeah, we'll dive into that.
'Cause I could be
You know
tired,
what I was gonna ask you?
you know what I'm saying? Like, they
So,
might fire me now. They can't fire me in my position now because I'm a dance teacher. You know, so it's like fuck you.
yeah.
You know, but
Well, I mean, yeah, like our world is in a funny place where I think the truth is starting to emerge and it's being respected and it's in some ways even being protected. Like people were getting fired for comments about certain things, and you kind of go, well, if that's the truth, why are they getting fired? You're exposing yourself now to what it truly is, and I think our world is starting to wake up to that, which I hope.
I
Um,
to be honest, I quit things like because my mentor used to teach me when I was coming up as a teacher and stuff, and I'm going through the programs. She told me, "Hey, if the district is not that for you, just leave it because there's all these different districts and there's all these different things. So
right,
sometimes it's just not for you, you know." And she makes a good amount, you know. She's makes over 100,000, you know, and she's just like a first grade teacher. But that's the thing she told me, and it was the real
right,
shit. So I'll just quit, like literally, like if in a month it's not cracking, like, or you're trying to put me in a box, I just leave and I say, "Oh, thank you," and I take the twenty
yeah,
thousand in the bonus, and I be out to the next
and
thing
yeah, yeah,
because it's like
right.
you. That's why they have those bonuses and shit because they're trying to like see who will go through the rat race to try to
That's
be
right.
super snitch so that you can and you got to understand, a teacher like me, they love you at first, but then the teachers, they hate you because they're like, why does he get to teach technology and dance and have fun and everybody loves him while we're sitting here
Yeah.
struggling? And it's because you guys, you're not a world champion in 19, 18, 17. You haven't even seen that level of how people can be nice and giving. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're just still
Right.
on this level. If you think it has to be, I listen to my boss. I didn't have a boss. You know what I'm saying? I was my boss
Right.
since like the teenager, you know? So me to go back into the education system was kind of hard because it was like, damn, this guy's he's too much, you know?
Right.
He's too
Too
intelligent.
structured by the book.
Yes.
No, there's no outside of the box thinking. They're literally teaching what they were taught, which doesn't necessarily mean that they've learned something in their life to be able to translate that to people. That's true experience. And I do find the engagement level of educators today is very different, you know. I was a part of what when I was running a store years ago, I got a chance to teach financial literacy to a couple of classes, and I loved it because it was just such a small piece to them, but to me it was everything because it was an opportunity to talk to kids about how to buy a car better,
Yeah.
or what type of cars to buy, or
Yes. I'm
how
sure
to.
they got that, bro. They understood it and they're gonna use it. Watch.
Right.
Because
And I hope they do, you know. But what would you say? Let's go back to dance because that's how you are known. So I'm sorry if I'm keeping you in that box, but what would you say about today's landscape of dancers? Obviously, just expression is great. How do you feel about it? Like, do you think it's evolved into an odd place? Like, do you think like I find everyone's trying to quantify something,
yeah,
and I think they're quantifying dance. Like, what do you feel? How do you feel about it? You tell
it's
me.
in cycles and circles, you know. And you know, it's kind of like it's kind of going backwards in a way. Some people are going forward though, but it's like backwards and forwards in the same, you know. But they quantified it, and this is why they quantified it. They quantified it because when the Olympics came and stuff, people had to try to fit this formula that was
Right.
made by people that were not champions, right? So with them
Right.
fitting that, yeah, you win now, but you never would have won before because you had to be
Right.
original and you had to have flavor and you had to do this. Now you can just copy and paste and be cool with this person or this that and you win, and that's not fair, you know. That's all
Right.
because you know that's what happened is they had to write this. They wrote this rule book and all this, and it's like, dude, who are you to write
Yeah.
the rule book, bro? Who did you even battle?
Right.
Like you never battled,
Yeah.
you know. But they went to school or whatever, or they, you know, they're
Mhm.
in financial institution and they got the money. So and everyone always bows down to money. So they're, I don't give a shit, you know. I
Yeah.
don't need money, you know. I don't need this. I don't need that. I just need myself, you know, and love to spread to other people. So I'm kind of in a different lane than a lot of people, and that's why it sounds crazy to people that want to be the champion and stuff. But I already been that, so I'm not even tripping, you know.
Right.
It's more now like,
Right.
all right, what's next, you know? But you know, shout out to the people that's trying and they're trying to figure it out, you know, because that's all they got, you know. But I'm just trying to tell them that like it's cute, but you know, you just kind of have to find yourself one day, you know. You have to find what's good in your heart and you know what you can do for the world, you know. Because if you just copy and paste this formula, it's going to win you some battles and stuff, but then there's going to be
Yeah.
this guy, the next thing, and the next thing, and you're just going to be asked out. Me
Right.
personally, I really retired at age 20, to be honest, like, of competing and all that, you know, because I
Right.
figured out like we were kind of getting robbed, you know, we were kind of getting used. Like we would go to these contests and shit, and it'd be like $100,000, right? And you only get 4,000, and you'd be like, "Where'd the money
Right.
go?" You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's there's people in it that just jack it and they be
Yeah.
out and they leave the country or they just be quiet and you never hear from them again. And
Right.
then the dancers are the ones suffering. Like we're the ones putting in the
Yeah.
work and we don't get
That's
what
right.
you guys promised. So that's kind of what drove me away too, in a sense, and
Mm.
go make money in LA. Cause I'm like, dude, you guys are jacking us, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, you think we're stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't got lawyers, but you know, we this is wrong, you know. So you know, so I
Yeah.
had to arm myself when I went to LA, and I had to learn the right people and the right things, and now I'll just sue your ass. You know what I mean? To be honest, like I'll just sue you. I'll just
Yeah.
call my boy Mike. You know what I mean? I'll call the Mormons. You know what I'm saying? They'll just sue your ass, and your ass will be grass.
Yeah.
Man. So That's how you fight in America now,
100%.
I learned that.
So, yeah, so just to be clear, yeah, you think that it's gone a direction where it's sort of almost promoting the typical style, like it's sort of diminished originality in a sense. And because
Yeah,
when I would agree with that so much, because man, when you look at, and don't get me wrong, hey, the tricks are great, and it was sort of like, in my opinion, part of the reason why Rocksteady became like so great and so recognized, or sorry, Rock Force, my bad, because there was power, but there was also originality and style, and those were things were combined and brought together with, just a nice package. Where
yeah.
today you see these tricks, and yeah, you see style, but you're right, it's sort of been pulled from these three places, and it's like, yeah, we've seen that before with
You
that
know what that
person and
is?
with this face and those.
This is why that is because people are looking to the new champions as how to win. Like the
Right,
old champions who was like us,
right,
we kind of started the battle for money type of thing, right? So we were the first of it, right? And then it was like the guys who kind of like used to fund us and stuff, they were like, oh shit, these guys caught on to what we're doing and shit. So
right.
we gotta get them out of there, right? So they got us out of there and they got
Uh,
the new guy.
it's the next.
New guys is oblivious to the shit, start tricking them. And now these new guys is all tricked and they think that is dope because you get a free t-shirt or you get a free this.
Hmm.
But that ain't it
Yeah,
though. That ain't enough, bro. Like you're
yeah,
supposed to be Tony Hawk. You're supposed to be sponsored. You're supposed to be getting like,
that's right.
millions of dollars, but you don't even get $20,000. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because they want to hold you
it's
in a certain thing. And that's
right.
basically what happened is like, and you can ask anybody that's like my age, they know, you know what I'm saying? But some of them are still trying to, lick balls,
Right.
try to be up there
Yep.
and shit. But half of those dudes, they never were the champions either. They kind of just like the people who are after, but they want to take the place because they want to be something special, and that's dope. I get it,
Well, they want to be.
yeah, but bro, like just do it the right way, man. It's just, and the right way is different for everybody, But I mean, like it's just like it's kind of stupid. It's not helping creativity. See, back at my time, it was about a lot of creativity. It was almost like you were
Hmm.
prided on being different. We had breakers like Homework, you know what I mean, G Whiz,
Yeah,
Abstract Flavor, like Cusser, like just individuals, just crazy, just weird,
yeah.
And that
Just
was
making shit, like creating shit.
creative. And I'm an artist, you know what I'm saying? So I'm into art, and when I see shit hella creative, it just blows my mind. So that's what I would see
Right.
the dancers as is like, whoa, like, you might not be the favorite to all these people, but you're original and you're different, and I can respect that, because it's coming from you and it's fucking something I've never seen before. So big up, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, and they're bearing their soul. They're brave enough and courageous enough to show who they are on the inside, and I think that alone deserves respect.
It does. It's
Where
hard.
where
It's hard.
where does, yeah, 100%. Where does the name come from, man? Where does B-Boy Vietnam? Where did that come from?
You know,
Because
uh,
like everybody probably thinks you're Vietnamese out
No,
there.
no, I'm not Vietnamese. But I respect Vietnam straight up. It's like dropping bombs like Vietnam. It's like the war in Vietnam. Americans went there, and the story is that the Americans won, but they really got their ass kicked. To be honest, they got their
Hmm.
ass kicked 100%. And because you could not snipe those guys that were in the trees, bro, they know this territory. So they were sniping all these Americans and shit. And the Americans had to get high because they're like, fuck, we're dying and shit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
propaganda made the Americans look like they won, but that's just propaganda. What really
Mm.
happened was this. So I'm kind of saying that. I'm saying like, I'm dropping bombs like Vietnam and I'm just sniping you out of nowhere and you don't even know what's happening. You came to my
Yeah,
country,
no,
smoked you, So that's kind of what it means. Method Man
that's
should
true.
do that too. I'm metaphorical, because I be rhyming too. So
Yeah.
it's like metaphors, you know what I'm saying? When you have a name, it means that, it kind of like means that. And my boy Chilzo, I kept saying that one day. I kept saying I'm dropping bombs like Vietnam. Man, I'm on some old Vietnam shit. Yo, that's some old Vietnam
Hmm.
shit over there. Like, so he's like, hey, that's a good name. So we kind of just like, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
I've been that ever since. I also been before I was the Vietnam, and I used to be named JR. because my dad's named Leon. I
Okay.
JR, and then I was Leon, and then I used to be Works when I was a writer when I first started writing,
Right.
and then now to the kids I'm Mr. Leon, Mr. Carswell, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
changing, you know.
Yeah. You know, I enjoyed this conversation so much, and I'm sorry I kept you a little bit longer.
I was,
I would definitely love to have you even back on at some point, but uh, for now, uh, what would you say to the youth, man? You've said a lot, obviously, for any kid that's listening who's a dancer or just anyone, really. They picked up a lot of game, I think, today. But what would you say to the youth today? Like, what's the message that Leon Carswell would want to
Leon
share with them?
Carswell would say. That if your name is Jose, or if your name is Tom, or if your name is Albert, or your name is whatever, you just try to find what excites you and try that in life. You know, don't worry about making mistakes. Just go and try it. It might work, it might not. But you gotta have some type of fun and zeal in it, you know? Because if you're not enjoying it,
Mhm.
then there's no use in doing it. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Right.
gonna get anywhere, you know. So find that zeal and that things that makes you excited, you know. If you like rainbows,
Right.
paint a bunch of rainbows everywhere. If you like I write linoleum Jesus everywhere, you know what I'm saying? I tag that shit in cursive, with a fucking
No.
cross right there, because I'm into that,
Right.
and I think that's better than tagging Vietnam. B-Boy Vietnam is dope, but linoleum Jesus, bro, is fire, you know what I'm saying? So
That's sick. Yeah. I
go
like
into,
that.
so find that,
Uh,
and you will be good. You will
yeah, I
be.
think that's a great message, man. Thank you. Thank you, man, so much for doing this. Like I'm still like, I don't know. I think people notice I haven't stopped smiling since we started talking. So, bless you, man, and everything that you're doing. I hope that you have all the continued success and love in your life. And I hope that people get a chance to hear more of your message because I think it's not only worthwhile, but needed in today's world. So, I appreciate you so much. Do you want to tell them how to find you? Like, what's the best way? Clearly, a fan page on Facebook is generally not the place, but I got lucky. I got lucky.
Yeah, don't find me on my Facebook, guys. Find me on Instagram, B-Boy Vietnam. Um, I'm not gonna add you on Facebook because that's my page for just people in my town. I have the other like of the Vietnam Carswell one, and that's like you
Okay.
might be able to find me there. I check those messages sometimes, but more like Instagram, Threads. I'm on TikTok too. I think I'm under B-Boy Vietnam. Under the TikTok.
Okay.
So if you just type in the IG B-Boy Vietnam or just even B-Boy Vietnam social media, you'll
Uh,
see something. I'm not the most popular in social media, like how a lot of other people are and stuff, but I definitely say my part. You know what I'm saying? So
and as mentioned, it's needed, man. Thank you so much.
thank you. Yes, sir.